Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today is Tuesday, November 21st. It's around 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're looking forward to have our podcast get started right away and get it done on time. Today's topic is the use of a influencer directory website and how agencies can use them to help drive business to their agency and to help their community. And again, I have a special guest with me. I'll tell you a little bit about our speaker today. Randy Bett is the founder of Agent Boomer Digital, who specializes in influencer marketing for real estate and home services. His strategic use of influencer partnerships have driven significant lead generation and sales growth for local realtors, marketing businesses, and coaches. This marketing, when combined with Google ads and targeted Facebook ad campaigns, will boost and amplify clients' online presence and their return on investment. Randy's approach combines innovative directory and influencer marketing strategies to showcase local businesses in their markets. Randy, are you with us today?
We're ready to go here, Marvin. Let's get started here. And I'm excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me along and look forward to our conversation and sharing today.
That's great, Randy. So listen, without further ado, I'm going to jump right in as I usually do. And have some questions, and then we can share what we've done and what we're doing. And let's start with number one. Can you explain what a local online directory influencer website is and how it differs from other types of websites?
Well, this one here, I guess we could go into the philosophy of it, but really it's looking for a business owner, whether they're a marketing agency like ourselves, possibly they could be a coach or a real estate agent or a realtor that's looking to help support local businesses, spotlight, showcase them, and at the same time allow their own business to grow by doing that. So it's, helping out local, and you're going to benefit from yourself. And the way it works in a kind of a nutshell is we put together a website that is not really truly traditional in a sense that it's not meant for lead generation. It's not a brochure type of a site. What it's doing is actually showcasing local businesses in your community, or if you're a coach, for example, would be people within your coaching community that you would be working with. And by doing so, you're actually elevating them, and at the same time, you're saying, hey, you know what? I'm supporting you. I'm going out of my way to add value to you and to our community.
That's great. So it's kind of, when people think of directory sites, I think the first thing, because of their play in the marketplace, maybe not the first ones to do it, would be when it was called Angie's List, now Angie or Home Advisor, where they went ahead and really what the goal of that today is, it's a lead generation tool that Angie makes a lot of money from for supplying leads to the vendors that sign up and pay her to be on that site. Now, which brings me to this question. There is no fee when you put businesses on your directory initially. They're free listings, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they're like a free ad. You could even consider them almost like a little mini billboard, or like the proverbial, business card that you see on bulletin boards and so on. But everything is free there, right up front there. So it's just another way for a local business to get free advertising. And in this case, we as the business owners are providing that free ad for the business.
That's great. So, I mean, you kind of hit upon some of the key benefits of creating local online directory website for the community. But if you had to separate, can you give us one or two examples of the benefit as the owner of the website, as well as the local community?
Let's start with the owner, and we have people doing it a couple of different ways. One way is to actually have the website become a tool to monetize and create income for the business owner, the marketing agency themselves. And they can use that income either to further expand that website in their business. Maybe they put it into Google ads or Facebook ads to create more exposure. So that's one way of using it. So in other words, there's an income right from the website, first of all. And then further on, once you're reaching out to the business owners that you've put on here as a free ad, or they can pay for ones, as a matter of fact, then what you can do is, because you've got this, letter of introduction, this, foot in the door type of an idea, they can go ahead and introduce other services they have. So if it was a realtor, possibly they're a specialist in leasing commercial spaces, or maybe they're in property management. If they're a marketing agency, they may be specializing in just Facebook and Google ads, and they can introduce that. So it's really a way to have a non-pressure approach to saying, oh, by the way, besides the free ad, if you needed more help, this is what I offer directly. So you've got the website income from running ads on it, and then you've got the agency, income that comes from the services you provide.
Okay, I love it. Now, as far as the local community, the benefit for them is both the businesses in the community. If you're a general directory site, and you have your restaurants, your amusement parks, you have your banks and all of those type listings. So it's a benefit because it's an easy place to find all the information in one location, correct? And I
Correct. Yep.
think the other thing is, it gives the community business community a chance to highlight their business, and another way to be visible when people search for their service or products online.
And
So
that's exactly right, because local businesses, obviously, in my opinion, want as much exposure online as possible. And why not have a site that's dedicated to either your local neighborhood, your city, your county, or if it's a coach or somebody like that, that particular sphere of influence you're dealing with, because people are looking for that online. And you get an opportunity here, in this case, whether it's free or what we call premium ads, to add more to your exposure online.
Yep, I know how important that is. I mean, the next question kind of ties into this. By building and maintaining the local directory online, it helps the creator, the agency, in our case, our own agencies, as well as those that are using these type websites, to establish authority in their community. Kind of makes them stand above, because they're helping others rather than just advertising their website. They're promoting a service to keep the community tight, and especially after what we went through with COVID, I would think that's a real important idea behind the authority, and I'm going to call it an influence or authority site, because when you're on that site and you're the owner of that site, you're the go-to person for people who want to get on the site as well. I mean, it'll spread through the community that this is available, and that there should be people that we weren't familiar with or didn't recognize when we loaded their information onto the site. And then we're going to get into that later. But would you agree that it kind of sets us apart as a doer for the community?
Oh, absolutely. And we like to use the analogy of, when you're putting this together, think of it in a way that you're creating your own chamber of commerce, or you're creating your own BNI, to use those two analogies there. You're creating your own network, and you're the leader in that. So being the leader, whether it's, in this case, you're a, let's call it a speaker, or, an interviewer, or whatever way it is going to be, is you become an authority in the community. And also because you're, in my opinion, probably completely different than everybody else out there that's saying, come to me and spend your money. This way you're up front and saying, hey, you know what, I'm here to help out, whether you're, the roofer that's in town here, the chiropractor, or whoever it might be, we're here to help you.
Yeah, I think those are good points, that we're, the key one being, we're here to help you.
Mhm.
And in so doing, we're helping our community, we're keeping business local, and we can grow as a community. So I think that's really important. Um, Talking about successful directory websites, I know you and your partner you're involved with the real estate market. You built a number of sites, quite a few, in fact. But can you share examples of the successful online directory websites that have become authorities in their respective areas? And what strategies did they use to achieve that?
Yeah, so we've got kind of like three we can probably talk about that are all different. Okay, so we've got the traditional site that is a city or a county focus on that. And when we do that, and whether you're in Texas or you're in Washington State, you're essentially doing the same thing there. You're taking a community of approximately 100,000 population, maybe up to 250. And within that, you're taking a look at number one, who's local. And so we honestly try to eliminate the big box stores and so on, because we want to promote the local business owner, not, the big, huge chains that are out there. So number one, we do that. So we take a city, and it could be as small as a community of 50 to 75,000. And again, like I said, up to 250,000, we put on what we would call free ads or free listings in a particular area and build it out from there. So that's more of a general one. And that would really be suitable for real estate agents, realtors, mortgage brokers. We're even seeing life insurance agents use something like that because it gives them the ability to reach people they would want to reach. Now, the other one is where we're taking a look at a specific community, or in this case, a niche. And we've got one out there just for wedding supplies. In other words, all of the things that would go into a wedding. So whether it's a wedding venue, a wedding planner, the wedding photographer, and everything else that goes into that. And in that case, it's really focusing on just the wedding industry itself. And the benefit there is that you can have your own products that you sell, whether it's a guide, you can have affiliate products in there. So in this case, the website itself can be earning a lot of income, even outside of its main industry. All right.
Interesting.
And yeah, and then another one we have is with the wellness community. And the wellness community would be different in a sense that it can still be locally based. In other words, it could be for a city or a community. But in this case, you're reaching out because you probably have a product or a service or both that the community would use. So whether you're a yoga studio, for example, or a medical spa or a health spa, the product or service that you provide would be a benefit, mutually benefit both of you. And so that one actually works quite well. So then you're taking a look at three different approaches there. You've got one that is general, you've got one that's really industry related, and then you finally have one that allows for coaches and trainers, or somebody who has a product or service to be able to use that. All of them allow you to reach out to your community. That's the big plus here. You're reaching out, showing value up front, and it allows you to get into that relationship and that conversation with people over a period of time.
Now, Randy, you bring up something that we've been talking about already for the first part of this podcast, and we talk about community. The question that a lot of our listeners will have is, do you have to be in that community to provide this type of service?
You could, but it's not necessary. So we have folks that are from one end of the country to the other. So in other words, we have folks that are, the own business owners that are in Texas, for example, but their business site is actually up in the Northeast. So we're talking thousands of miles away. So in other words, could you run this at a distance? Absolutely. And then we have other people who are right in the community, and this is, really real estate related, that they can go out and actually do visits to that particular business owner and talk back and forth with them. So it can be at a distance, it could be right local. Either way works.
Yeah. Which is kind of unique, because a lot of people think about, like, where do I do this, or who do I do this for? And the money is in the niches. We've heard that a million times, right?
Mhm.
And the niches that are most, sought after are threefold. They either revolve around health,
Mhm.
they revolve around wealth.
Mhm.
Okay, so that would be the finance, and then of course the legal.
Yeah.
Okay, those are where the money is. Those are the people that have the money. I know we're working together on a project now that has to do with the medical niche
Mhm.
that could potentially be very big, and we'll share some of that later on. But again, I know that we've discussed this in length actually, but how can a local online directory website generate a recurring income for the creator? And are there specific monetization strategies that work well in this context?
Well, let's take a look at that where we're looking at just the website as a method of creating recurring income. And in this case, we'll just say forget about your agency, not really forget about it, but we're going to look at what the website itself can produce. Because we started out with the free ad, which even includes a backlink to their site if you choose to set it up that way. But on the recurring side, what you have the opportunity to do is to charge anywhere from a minimal amount to create what we would consider like a mini billboard or a small mini website within your website for either a monthly or an annual fee. That's step number one. Number two, what you can do is you can actually have category specialists that are something like, quote, the old yellow pages when you would flip through it and some business owner would have the entire page or half of the page, and then everybody else would have, two or three lines of just text. We offer that same feature there for businesses that really want to stand out. So it doesn't matter which page you land on. For example, let's say it's veterinarians. Every veterinarian page within the directory has you featured. And again, that is on a recurring monthly or an annual basis to have that position. The next one is we can run specific ads on every listing. All right. And that simply means it doesn't matter whether we are looking at all of the veterinarians in a city and we look at them individually. On the right side, we have a spot there to run small ads, which would be similar to pretty much, you go to a news site right now, your local news site, whether it's TV or radio or newspaper, they have ads running on the left hand side or the right side. That's the same method there. And you can have that priced at a different price point. So that's three ways to monetize it, by sidebar ads, we call them. You can have category featured, which is really the premium one where you want to be the person in town. And then the other one, which is more like the mini billboard, the mini website within it. So that creates three different ways of different recurring income. And you could probably layer in more than that, but that's three right out of the gate.
Yeah, I know. We've discussed this, but one of the other things is, and I think you pointed to it before, you could always also have a sponsored ad
Mm-hmm.
or adjunct type companies. So, for example, if you're talking about realtors
Mm-hmm.
and the listings is a real estate listing of the on the directory, all the real estate's in the area, residential, you may divide it residential, commercial, okay, leasing versus sales. There's a whole bunch of subsetting it, but ultimately you could get the mortgage broker, the banks as sponsors to the
Correct.
websites as well. Now you could do it in the form of the sidebar ad, or you could do it on the front page on the landing. This site is sponsored by, and put a list of, and maybe only list six, you
Mm-hmm.
know, three across and two lines, so people see it every time they go to the website. So that's a great way to generate income. So there's more than one way.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And of course, the one way that we haven't talked about is that when we do all of this, we're doing that on behalf of our agency. This is revenue
Mm-hmm.
for the agency. Now, whether you choose a monthly subscription or you allow a yearly subscription, and I think if you had to pick one, I think you and I are in agreement. It depends on the niche market that you do the website for, but
Correct.
most of the time you want to do an annual so that they get a chance to do that. And then the question arises, well, okay, I'll take because most people I think of this as an ad, no matter
Yeah.
whether you do a premium or featured, and it's really the words and how you explain it to the client that will make the difference. But ultimately, they're going to see it as an ad, and they're going to say, "Well, how are you going to go ahead, and how am I going to benefit from paying for an ad on this directory that nobody knows about?" Which leads me to the question that I've been asked, and that's, like, are you promoting the directory? And I know in your introduction, you mentioned that this is some of the things that you do, and that's Google ads and Facebook ads. Is that the way you get the name of the directory out there? Do you have a Google business profile for your directory? What are some of the things people want to be aware of if they're going to build these and to drive traffic to the directory on behalf of the community?
That's a really good question, because this question will come up, especially if you're new, because people will have not seen your directory or influencer site out there because you're brand new, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll get questions: how much traffic? How are people going to see me? So when you're doing the offering, the free one is free. You know what? You've paid for it out of your pocket. You've put it up there. The expectation is, when you get traffic from that, that's a bonus. On the paid side, it doesn't matter which level you're at. This is what we're doing, is we're taking a portion of that and putting it into an ad spend account. And the way it can be done is, we're finding this the most effective, is to take a portion of that paid ad, whether it was the large one or the premium one, or if you're a sponsor on the first page, and making sure that in the first month there's actually ad money spent there, because then the business owner sees that, oh, this is working. I've seen it in Facebook, or it popped up on YouTube, or it popped up, within a display ad somewhere. This way you get exposure for the site itself, you get exposure for the business owner, and it affirms and confirms to the business owner, oh, it does work. I do see me out there. This is different. You know what? It's not just my ad running, if they do run ads at all. So it benefits you as the business owner marketing agency, because you're actually driving traffic back to your new website. And it benefits the business owner because they say, oh, right, you are doing something for me. And whether you run this over 10 days or 3 weeks or a month, it's up to you. But run it for sure, at least for 2 weeks. So the business owner says, oh, you know what? I saw it up there. You guys did a great job. Thanks a lot. And again, it's a benefit for them and the local community.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget, and before we go on, I want to say to those listeners today, this is not a one and done deal for you. This is something that you're going to have to participate in. You're going to have to keep it updated. You're going to have to keep your eye on it, and basically make it work. And some of the ways you're going to have to. This is not something that's free to you. It's going to cost you time to build it, or you'll learn later. We have opportunity for you to outsource it to us, and we'll build your website for you at a very ridiculously low fee to get you started. But you're going to want to keep it up, and that's the thing. You're going to want to constantly go out there and add businesses to it, to put a free listing, free ad, whatever you want to call it. And then the idea behind it as an influencer site and as a money site for you, you're going to want to reach out to those businesses that are already on the site and let them know. And that brings me to something that's very important and what it can do for your business. And that is, there's an SEO, search engine optimization, part of this website. Because when you bring on 500, 600, 1,000 businesses, and you let them know they have a free ad, and you tell them you want them to validate it or check it out so that there's no errors, and see if there's any missing information, which, by the way, could lead to the sale of the actual advertising part for a featured or premium ad, then they're going to tell their friends and their family, and you're going to invite them to invite those people to visit, and the more traffic that Google sees going to that site, they're gonna say, well, wait a minute. In Jabip, California, there's a lot of activity to this website. You know what? It's not in the right position. We got to raise it so people can find it. And then with all the search terms for all the niches that you have in there, that becomes an SEO dream come true. Okay.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so that's going to help. And then if you add the ads and your social proof, and you get some testimonials as soon as you get someone who gets an ad and drives, and sees some activity coming through the directory, if you can get them to leave you a nice review, social proof wise, it's just going to help continue to build it, which leads to me to this question, which I'm often asked for people who want to know how I built my directories, and that are the innovative ways to attract some of the local businesses to choose to list on your directory and ensure that they continue their participation. What are some of those ways that we can do that and attract a new business?
Well, you're going to have a group of businesses that you choose to put on there, whether they're friends or somebody that you know, or they're actually specific businesses. You can go ahead. Let's say you might want to have 5 or 6 or 10 different business types, and you say, well, we want to have them on there. Great. We can go ahead and build the site for you, pre-populate that in there. But then again, you want to attract new businesses to that. You're going to say that, you know what, raise your hand and do that. One of the easiest ways that we found is to reach out to your local chamber of commerce and say, oh, by the way, this is what I'm doing for the local community. Because they're supporting the local community already, they will often in turn go ahead and spread the news, say, well, you know what, you need to check out this site because it's also adding value to you. And then you can drive traffic that way. And I'm going to back it up. Marvin talked about, the SEO perspective. One of the things we're doing for the existing business owners that are on the site, when we reach out to them, either by email or phone or a direct message, is to say, oh, by the way, would you like to send us some information that we could put onto your business listing? And we can usually do that for free at the beginning. And the reason for that is SEO, because you need the content. And because it's specific to your city, it's specific to their business, it certainly helps. And why not get them to write the content? You're not paying for it. They're going to write it in their tone of voice on what, their specialty is. And that way your site benefits from the 500 words or whatever they sent over to you, to add to their particular listing. So again, it's a goodwill gesture, because then they can say, oh, I really like that. And often they'll ask, oh, by the way, what else do you do? And then you can fill in the blanks with your specialty.
Oh my God. You know what? You just made me think of something else that we could do. I've done this. I have several sites now on Facebook, groups, like news and events type groups. And, I'm always after the business owner. And when I see a new business open, I find a spot for them and put a little thing on my Facebook group that, ABC Roofing just opened in the area looking for a roofer. Why not give them a call? And I try to put their telephone number. So you could actually create, which I'm just now realizing, you could do a business website that kind of mirrors your directory site that'll give it even more juice. Okay. Very, very interesting proposition here to get people, but I think attract new people. I mean, here's the issue that we seem to all have when we do the directories. And that is, how do you get someone to validate their ad? In other words, we could put up all the free listings. We could put Google ads out there. We could put, Facebook ads out there. We could form a Facebook group. We could do all of that. But what do we go ahead and do? Okay. to get people to go to the website and recognize the work that we did. And Randy, I know you and I have done almost what I would consider almost every way to get people illuminated. I'm going to use that word
Yeah.
to do that. But what are the ways that the new business directory owner should be aware of that they're going to want to do in order to make the directory a success? How are they going to reach out and let people know?
Well, what I found is the most effective way is the phone call. Now, the phone call, a lot of times the business owner won't understand it, right? What you're trying to do. So, and often what you can do, and this is my preference to do this actually, is to leave a voicemail and encourage them to go check it out. Because if you were encouraged to go check out a site that mentioned your name, chances are you would go there, and I hate to be on the negative side of it, to make sure that you're not promoting something bad or a mistake about your business, right? So that's one way to do it there, is with a direct phone call or a voicemail. The emails can largely get ignored, to be honest with you. You might have to, email them 4 or 5 times in a sequence to encourage them to go there. And we have a way of them validating it, to click on a button, say, yes, this is me, this is my name, this is my email, and this is my phone number. And that way they're claiming their business much like they claim their Google business profile. So it's similar to that. The biggest thing is to do the outreach one way or the other. It tends to be manual, okay? And Marvin and I can talk about this a little bit later on, but if it is manual, you can have somebody else do that for you. And we call them being virtual assistants. In other words, it's probably somebody in an entirely different country that's reaching out on your behalf and encouraging people to go to the site that way. So that's another method, but we can get into the virtual assistants a little bit later on.
Yeah, in fact, I think that'll be best. We're going to talk about a training that we're going to be doing that's going to become available, whether you already have a site or whether you decide to build one or have us do it for you. That's going to be available. So, we're kind of touching upon it right now, but what are some of the common challenges, Randy, as well as the pitfalls that a creator of these type websites should be aware of, and how can they overcome them before they even exist?
For me, the number one is to get started, because a lot of people have a great idea that, oh, I'm going to do this because somebody else has done this. Okay. And you can think of the yellow pages because they've been around forever type of thing. Okay. Well, we're not the yellow pages, right? And we're certainly not a yellow pages salesperson who hounds somebody until they either buy or, basically tell them to hit the door before they go out. So what we want to do is to get somebody started. And so some people say it's a great idea. I don't know how to do it, but this is something that I want to do, both for my own personal benefit and for the community. So in that case, what they can do is they can hire a company, whether it's us or somebody else, to go ahead and get it set up properly. And by doing that, you're not mired down in the minutia of all the details of trying to get it set up. Then what you do is what we call, you have a turnkey solution to get started. And then on top of that, what you can do, if you choose, is you can opt into different coaching or training on how to best go ahead and move forward. So you've got your new business started, you've opened the doors. It's like, okay, what do I need to do next? And Marvin and I have been talking back and forth on some of the strategies there, but oftentimes we find you need the helping hand, whether it's a one-off or it's on a weekly basis, or you have the ability to drop into a group setting or a group coaching type of a plan. We even do one-on-ones where somebody really has something specific that we can address. So realistically, you can start out on your own. You can have a done-for-you product that's turnkey, ready to go, and then you can add on specific training if you require it, whether right at the beginning or maybe a month or two in, you'll say, well, I need to have extra help getting from point B now to point C.
Randy, I know we've discussed this, and I think it's important for the listeners to know. And that is, when we built our sites and we started doing the outreach to let people know that we provided a free listing / ad for them, and
Mhm.
we've spoken to them. We often do hear, well, what else do you guys do?
Mhm.
And I know that in my case, I picked up a couple of Google Business Profile accounts from doing that, from my directory listing. I picked up a social media account from my listings. But how often, if you had if again, part of the things that people are going to run into is, I think they don't want to be selling the services, but if they're providing the service of this directory, would you agree that it naturally leads people to ask you, well, what else do you guys do? What, like I know one of the questions we have, and I know we've spoken to Richie Cronin about this, who's a big user of the website directory theme to make a living. And and people always ask him, like, why are you doing this for free? Or
Mhm.
why are you doing it for $99 a year for a featured listing? A mini website is what I call it, you know? And he says, well, we're not making any money. That's his answer. He says, we hope to build a relationship to assist our communities. And as we grow as a community, you're gonna have different needs, hopefully in the digital marketing arena, and you're gonna call the person who helped you, and that would be me. And then we can, that's how we make our money. What do you say to people?
And that's pretty much what you need to do is, let people know that you are in business. There's an expectation that you are going to make a profit. They're going to make a profit, right? And when people come to any website for that matter, there'll be features on there that they like. And it might be just the website. Like literally, you might have a hair salon that you've got featured on there, and they say, well, my hair salon doesn't, website doesn't look that good. Marvin, could you do this for me? Is that something you do? Because, like you said, a lot of these questions will come up naturally because they recognize that you're in the digital marketing space already, right? And on your site, if you want, and this we encourage people who are within the marketing agency space, is to have in the menu, in the footer, somewhere on that, or even your own ad quote that runs on every listing that encourages people to click over to your directory site or to a page within here that describes all of your services. Because, it could be the social media like Marvin talked about. It could be a Google Business Profile. It could be, a website refresh, whatever it might be. Then go ahead and promote it on the site itself. And when you're doing your email marketing, and you're going to find what's going to happen is that business owners are going to say, well, what else do? You can say, well, oh, by the way, what I do is, and let's call it twice a month. Twice a month, I share with my local community what can be done both, in the online space, as we call it, or the offline space, which is traditional, to help you grow your business. Would you like to be part of that? And you're not saying it's a newsletter because that's overused. What you're doing is you're positioning it as a way to help local businesses, with their marketing and probably sales, right? And it's the way to build that relationship because Marvin brought it up here. This is not just like a one and done. This is not something you do once. It's a business you're building, and get your mind wrapped around that it is a business, because in a business, chances are you're going to have employees, you're going to have contractors, you're going to have people helping you out. So that way, I would encourage you to start with the mindset right away that I'm building a business. And as a matter of fact, part of that, even on your own side, is you're building a digital asset that if you choose to, you could sell off part of it, you could sell off the whole thing, because after a period of time, you will have residual income. And folks out there are buying websites that have residual income. It's another investment. So really get a big picture of what you're building, not just at the beginning where, oh, I'm running some free ads and I'm going to get paid ads and so on. Build it as a business. Realize that whether I start at a bricks and mortar store, I can keep it running, I can hand it off to somebody else, or maybe in 5 years, I turn around and sell it.
Good point, Randy, because a lot of times we build these And, you know, like I said, I mentioned Richie's name before.
Mhm,
Richie has built, I don't know now, probably like 50 or 60 it is. They're
mhm,
self-running. He's got a team of VAs who make the calls, send the emails to let people know about their listing. And he gets a lot of those calls back that ask him, like, why are you doing this? You
mhm.
know, I mean, it's not like joining an Angie's List. It's not like joining, you know, a Home Advisor. It's a free listing. Now, I'm surprised, as I'm sure you are, that many times when we follow up, when we created the site and we start our outreach to let people know and to validate their listing so that we didn't get the, I mean, I was shocked to find out some of the things that we pull in. And by the way, for people who's not do not recognize this, but inside your site when it's built, you have the ability to import leads, and it's a scraper. It actually goes out to Google and it finds the the niche and the area you want, and it brings it in for you to put on the site. Now, the problem with that is, as we found out because I became a Google business profile expert,
Mhm.
a lot of times people don't even, you know, Google spent millions, probably now it's probably billions of dollars going out there and finding all the businesses in the world and
Mhm.
putting them on their search engine and told people that here we are, and yet 44% of the businesses listed on Google have never claimed their listing. Now, because of the people that, it's no secret, I had a nephew that worked for Google, and he still has people that work there, even though he left. And about 4 or 5, maybe longer, 6, 7 months ago, Google's intent is their servers are getting full.
Mhm.
You know, because there's so many. That's another thing. New businesses opening every day are literally around the globe, like a million a day that
Mhm.
are opening a new business. And Google doesn't want to support all the old stuff if the business didn't take the initiative to go and claim a listing. They are going to be removing them starting in 2025.
Yep.
And then you won't be found online at all, and then you're gonna go through the process, and for those of us who are doing that, we know they're making it more difficult to claim a listing and fill up their server with information, because they want you now to take a video and film, you know, your street and your truck or your car with your signs on it and your business card and the inside of your office, you know, and they've made it really difficult. So, with that said, being a owner of a directory, we're kind of going through the same thing that Google went through in the very beginning. How did they get people to know that they could find a business relevant to their search? And the only way you could do that is communication.
Yeah.
And that's why I said earlier, this is not one and done. This is a project in motion. It's going to continue to work the client, to introduce them, because you know what? If you'll introduce yourself, or you have a team that introduces you, and both Randy and I, we have people throughout the world, mostly in the Philippines, that work for $4 to $5 an hour, you know, amazingly, who
Mhm.
do a great job. And they're your spokesperson. And if you hire the right people, they communicate well with the person that you put this listing on. And what you want to do is eventually, I mean, you gave me this idea during today's presentation, Randy. I'm thinking I should have a newsletter for everybody inside my directory.
Mhm.
And then in the bottom of the newsletter, I can make that a money winning thing, because I can say, I'm looking for 3 sponsors of my newsletter.
Mhm.
You know, we have, and on one of our directories, in my case, I have 4,000 people.
Mhm.
In your case, when and the one and the team what we're building right now, we have 14,000.
Right.
Okay. I mean, can we find 3 people to sponsor that listing, even though, ours is a United States, 50 statewide. But if you have a local directory, think of the power of having a newsletter added to that, if they become a premium listing, you could go ahead and you can have them, give them a free ad 1 out of 12 months.
Exactly.
Newsletter, what's happening in my area, and
Yeah.
how do you find that out? And I've been using Chat GBT like crazy. We talked about this last night. Yeah, how I can't do anything without asking it a question and letting it find the answer. So, create a newsletter with activities happening in the month of December in Lakewood, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And the thing goes on and on and on and writes this beautiful thing. Just copy it, rewrite it, or, put pictures of where the, events are happening. And man, you got a beautiful newsletter. And what did it take you to do? Okay. Doesn't take you much time. The hardest thing is all the websites that we import into the directories, they always have a telephone number, they always have an address. What they don't give you is an email address.
Correct.
And really that's key, and that's why, again, Randy, you brought this up earlier, making those telephone calls to those companies that you put on the directory, introducing yourself and asking them to validate their ad, and this is amazing to you and I and everybody, I think, that has a directory. Be prepared that 40 or 4 out of 10 people that you call are going to say, as soon as you say, I'm calling on behalf of, and the name of the directory, they think of it as a sales call. And before you can get the words out, they go, we're not interested. And if you don't get it to say it, like, what are you not interested in? I just gave you a free ad, a $300 a month, value. What part of that are you not, interested in receiving, and you hear that. Okay. And the answer to that is next. Now the question is, you took the time, which was really easy because the importer just puts it in there, right? But you're taking the time, you put them on your directory. Do you go back? And this is a question you and I have been deliberating. Do you go back or pay one of our VAs to go in there and start removing all the people? Because why am I giving them a free ad if they're not interested?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, this is why it's an ongoing project. It's not a, a one and done. We're going to stick with it. We're going to work it, and we're going to build it. Now, the benefit, Randy brought it up, I've spoken about it, is that you become the authority. You become the community support leader. Okay. We're doing this for our community or for your community because we see value in what you have to offer. And eventually, without asking, if you're shy of making sales calls, people come out of nowhere and start calling you and asking you, well, what else do you guys do on your directory? It doesn't happen in the first month. It doesn't happen in the second month, but I'll tell you, it's happening for us in the 4th, 5th, and 6th months of the directories I put up there. It's starting to happen, and it's a natural occurrence. I don't have to go make sales calls. People calling me. What's better than that?
Yeah. And that's what we're finding is that once we're past that 3-month mark, with the fact that it's local, the fact that it's named for the city or the particular product or service that you provide, you'll find that the SEO side of things will really start to ramp up, especially with you being consistent on your part, whether you do it yourself, you have one of the kids do it, you've got an intern that does it from a local college, that part of their internship, which I've done, and we haven't really spoken about that. But you're going to find as you add some information, whether you call them blogs, whether you call them, shout outs about local businesses there, it is all going to help your site. And let's think of it this way. Let's say, for example, that you got out of veterinarian school and you open up your veterinarian, shop, and you've hired a few front staff there. You just don't throw the doors open and there's dogs and cats, and the owner's charging through the door. You have to go through a series of steps and continuous steps to make sure that you're top of mind for the local community or that specialty or both. This is the same way about it. And I'm going to go back to it. When you realize that you're building a business and not just a website, you treat it differently. Because you could have a traditional brochure website, put it up there and say, oh, there it is, I'm all done, walk away from it. That's a traditional brochure website. But if you're a plumbing shop, or an HVAC, provider there, they just don't, put it up and once and done. They're promoting their business all of the time, whichever way they can. They might be sponsoring the Little League, type of thing, or a bowling league or whatever it is, but they're making sure that they're staying top of mind. We have the same opportunity. And the good thing about it, and Marvin brought it up, let's say you are introverted and you don't really go out, or you're not the person who's going to make a phone call, or when you're networking, you don't show up. However, with this type of a situation, you are the leader, you are the authority. Make sure your own picture's on here, by the way, on your about page there. You will become recognized even with just a little bit of traffic to your website and reaching out, because it's you that's out there. You're going to wind up setting up your own social media profiles, probably the main 4 or 5 that go ahead and promote it. Think of this, you're doing this organically online, you're doing this organically within the social media side of things. And of course, as budget provides, you can go ahead and use the paid ads. And Marvin brought up a good point about the newsletter, which, minimum, let's say you sent 2 every month. There will be people in the community who will sponsor that, who really have no connection, to your website, other than the fact they like to promote local businesses, right? So it might be not a non-for-profit, but maybe there's some type of profit business out there that's for profit, maybe not a lot of profit. They'll support it because they want their name out to that particular community. There'll be other people out there that own a very, very large business, and they say, you know what, I like what you're doing, Marvin, I'm going to support you. And every 2 weeks in your newsletter, all I ask is that there's, confirmation, affirmation saying, what, we're sponsored by these 3 people. And there's a link that goes off to their website as well. So anyways, that's kind of a nutshell.
Another great idea, Randy, you keep getting me. I mean, and we've been doing this for a little while now,
Yeah.
I mean, year and a half, 2 years. And why not go to a company like Vistaprint, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get a business card, one side. That's all it is. Get your business listed on our community directory website to grow your business.
Mm-hmm.
And the link, and everywhere you go, whether it's a dry cleaners, a pizzeria, a Mexican restaurant, and just drop it off. And no matter how many times you go there, just keep dropping it off. And then maybe you have a little footnote. See if you're already listed.
Mm-hmm.
Or, claim your listing, whatever wording you need to do, and possibly claim your listing, because that means it may be there already. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And just drop them all over. Or, I mean, the holidays are coming, man. If you do this and you build this site now for the holidays, New Year, the kids are home from college and out high school. Man, what better way? Hire a kid and give them cash, right? Give them cash and let him go ahead and drop off cards. And I mean, here in New Jersey, we're known as the strip mall center of the world, I think. You don't go down one highway or main driveway, I'm going to say, that doesn't have, strip malls with pizzerias and Mexican restaurants and bagel places.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you name it, they're there. I mean, pharmacies and all that, and drop it off. I mean, if you're running a general directory, that's a great way to promote it. And that
It's not just shouting, it's mission. You put your hand out and do whatever. That's a ticket waiting to happen. It should be. You could,
Yeah.
I mean,
Sandy. Yeah, Sandy brings up some good stuff all the time. Sandy, I'm going to ask you just to hold the questions for the end.
sorry.
Yeah, no problem. And here's the other thing. Obviously you've already answered this. We provided some tips for best practices, and considering, their own online directory site and how to maximize the authority and its income potential. But I want to give you an example. I want to take a directory site that only had, I think we had 2,800 businesses on. And we
Mhm.
built this, wow, more than 2 years ago.
Mhm.
Okay. COVID was still really going on, and we built the website. And I sold off the website, which I want to talk about. Remind me, Randy, about ownership versus doing it and selling the website.
Correct.
And we went ahead and we were able to get 2 people who were featured listings, and we'll define those this way. We have the top of the line is a premium listing, which is like a page and a half scrolling, which is really an outline of everything a business does. I mean, they go to, in our case, if we're in a state, they have a drop down in the menu for the city, and then they have all the niches. And then when they click the niches for that city, and let's say in my case it was an electrician, and they click that, there's a whole, I mean, they land on it, a page, a sales page, basically, of all about that business
Mhm.
before they see any of the featured listings, and underneath that, the free listings. And the assumption is, I would gamble, if there was a way to measure it, that 75% of the visitors at the time to that website, to that location, that city, and that electrician, he got 75% of the clicks.
Mhm.
Okay. And right below that, you had the featured listings, which look like the regular listings, but say featured listings. And people think, oh, they're featured, so they must be better recommended. So they would click those, probably 22%. And then the free listings on the bottom, got whatever was left. Okay.
Mhm.
And we were able to generate a monthly income of I think it was $150. I think we were charging, we ended up with 3 ads, and I think they were $49 each. So about $150 a month.
Mhm.
Okay. Now that doesn't sound like much, but I've been looking for a new car. And I don't know where I thought I could get away with a payment of $400 a month for a new car, because I haven't shopped for a car in 8 years. And I saw the prices and the financing and what, even though I was putting down a large amount of money, and my payments are like $480 a month for the cars that I'm looking at. Well, if I was bringing in $150 a month from my directory site, I'm bringing in, and I'm now getting my new car, for less than what I was thinking of spending,
Mhm.
because I have this income coming in. Okay. Now, Randy and I said I'd mention it, we're working on a project in the medical niche,
Mhm.
and a premium ad for these people. We're talking about doctors and for what they do, and I don't want to give that away yet. They, for a full page and a half, 2-page scroll ad, basically, we've decided at, I think, $1,500.
Mhm.
Now, we don't, if you remember in the beginning of the call, we have 15,000 or close to 15,000 people that are going to be in the directory. Do you think it's possible for us to get 100 people within the 50 states in 5 cities? That's 250 listing pages. Do you think we could potentially find 100, or let's even reduce that to 50, 1 out of 5 people take that premium site at 1,500? Okay. If you take 50 times 1,500, and that's a year, not monthly,
Mhm.
that's $75,000. If you take the featured ads, which is like a mini website, and you have, I believe we could get at least 500 of those out of 14,000, but I'm going to be ridiculous and I'm going to say we only get 200. And we're charging for those 500. That's 100,000. Now you're looking at close to 175, $200,000 a year in income. Would that change your life? And I don't like talking about it that way because you know what? That's dreamland, because you got to do the work to make that happen.
Mhm.
Put in the work, get the paycheck. Okay. So, Randy, we've come to the top of the hour. I
Mhm.
appreciate you being on this. There were other things we did want to cover, but I did want people to know if they wanted to contact you directly, what's the best way they can do so?
Well, you could share my email address, with them, or if they want to send me a Facebook message, that's fine. I'll respond back either way. And
And
that
they
way,
find it at Randy Bet, BE, two T's at the end.
yep, double T's if you're on Facebook. And then again, that email address was very simple. It's just randy@agentboomer.com. So
Okay.
yeah,
That's
very, very straightforward way to get a hold of me. Marvin and I will go ahead and we're going to be offering other things that as we move forward from here, if you want specific training or help, whether it's in a group setting or a one-on-one, or you say, you know what, could you build me one of these sites? Let's say, for example, that you're in the middle of Kansas somewhere, but you say, you know what, really, I grew up, on the East Coast over there. I was in South Carolina. That's where my roots are. I really believe that I can build a business over there. We can even help you do that.
Yeah, Randy, I'm glad you brought that up because what we've done, Randy and I put together a special promotion for anyone who would like to build an authority / directory website. And our offer is that we'll build that site for you for one location. That could be a state, it could be a city, it could be a community. And
Mhm.
we'll start it off with an upload of 200 businesses to begin with and up to 5 niches.
Mhm.
We will also have an online training, and of course, it'll be recorded just in case you can't be there live. And it's to teach you how to optimize the site for prospecting and for easy access for the people that are going to be using the site both as a lister, listing company, business in the area, as well as the people that are going to go there to find those businesses to do business with. Okay. That alone is a $99 value. So whether or not you already have a directory site, whether it call it AGM, we call it a business growth machine.
Mhm.
You can get in on that training for $99, and it's basically to optimize the site. Now, if you decide to have us do the site for you, each participant will supply us a domain name, a hosting account where you want to host it, a logo for your business, a color scheme, as well as your contact information, so that that's all in there. That might include, as Randy suggested, a picture of you,
Mhm.
so that people know you locally if you're doing it in your own community, especially.
Mhm.
And basically, we have 2 payment options available. We're going to do all this work for you as a single payment of $400,
Mhm.
or you can do it over 2 payments of $249 each. The first payment will be due upon starting the project, and this upon the second one, obviously balance upon completion. Now, expected time for us to do this for you is 14 business days. Okay. To take advantage of it, you just have to send us an email at MDROBES. That's my first initial last name at earningcoachmarketing.com. And I'm going to ask you, if you're interested in the site, to put BGM as your subject line, so I know when I open that you're interested, and then we'll send you the payment link for the single pay as well as the 2 pay. Okay. And then once we receive that and you get that and pay it, we'll get on a phone call with you and get all the details that we're going to need to get it started. And then 14 days later, business days, we'll have that complete for you and ready for you to take over. And by that time, we'll also be scheduling. Probably it'll be hopefully we'll have a training before the holidays.
Mhm.
That'll kick off your new year, actually. Okay, if you're already, again, if you have a directory site and you want to learn how to tweak it with things like an extended menu, and depending if you're using the AGM site, there's limitations. The menu doesn't